Folks, here's a review of my zx14 2007 model Gen 1. I bought this thing when it had about 20,000 clicks on it. Now I'm just about to click over 90,000. And I tell you, the bike hasn't missed a beat. Double bubble windscreen, which is a necessity with these things. The windscreen's pretty low and these things are fast, so you're fighting a lot of wind. Got twin Yoshis, which were pretty costly. But yeah, make a difference in power, and they look pretty hot, I reckon. My dry rider luggage bag, which has been good, because if you buy a set of these racks in Australia these days, you've got to buy their bag as well. Their bag's useless, so I've been carting this one from bike to bike. Got my GoPro mount under there when I'm going through the mountains, doing the speed limit, of course. I only do 60 kilometers an hour on this one, 100 in 100 zones. I'm a good boy. Here she is. Let's see what K's it's got on it. There you go, 89,752. A lot of K's. Probably all it needs would be a timing chain tensioner, I would say. So I'll be doing that shortly. It's a pretty easy job. You can just throw it in yourself. It's got a muzzy chain guard that was on it when I bought it. Okay, some of the good points. Power, of course. This thing's got bucket loads of it. Absolutely face melting when you want to turn it on. It's a really quick bike. It's a great seat for a pillion. Probably the best I've ever owned. I used to have a Honda Blackbird, which was really good as well, but I'd say this one's, very comfortable for a pillion. A nice wide seat. They're not sitting too high to you like a sports bike. So yeah, very nice to double someone, for the person being doubled and the rider. Next one, the dash layout, which I really like, because you've got the sort of future digital gauge there, but you've got two analogs, because I'm a big analog gauge type person. I like the old school look. Gearbox is pretty tight on these things. You've got to do a bit of rev matching when you're coming down gears, because these things weigh a fair bit and they've got lots of torque. Next one's looks, because I reckon they look shit hot. I reckon they look better than boosters, but obviously the booster guys are going to say they don't. It's a Gen 1 front end, which I personally like the headlights on these ones better than the ones that they've joined together on the Gen 2s. Next thing, we've got mirrors. These mirrors would probably be the best I've owned on any bike. They've got very good vision. They don't move. They're just a nice mirror. I've owned a lot of bikes and these would be the best ones. Having plenty of room for the rider. Next one. So I'm a pretty big guy, over 6 foot, 110 kilos. It's quite good for me. It's very comfortable. Although one of my mates he's probably about 95 kg, about 5'8", and he finds this bike a little bit too much for him, too much of a stretch. But they reckon for smaller people you can get a 1-inch bar riser, which makes all the difference. Obviously I just didn't have to do that, so I didn't do that. Now, ergos. These things are very nice to sit on. Hug in, and I mean, if you want to turn on some power, you can really hug your legs in, get underneath that windshield, and there you go, like a rocket. Next thing, the sound. They do sound pretty good. Don't know if I can pick it up on a video, but I will try. Yeah, sound very nice, especially when you open it up on a highway or something. You can really hear that nice note. Next one, it's pretty good to ride long distance compared to some of the bikes I've had. It's still a hyper sports or super, whatever they want to call it, not a super sports, hyper sports I think. But it's very comfortable and it eats up kilometres. There's speed, which I've already mentioned. I should mention it again because it's just, yeah, you know, it's pretty crazy. Look, it eats leader bikes for breakfast. It's fast. It's got a shift light, which I never use because I don't do quarter mile or any of that jazz. So yeah, I mean, you can program it. You can program it also. You can set your shift light wherever you'd like it, but I just leave it up there. I know when to change gears. I'm just riding road. Next thing, flashman indicators. I've owned a lot of bikes that have indicators that stick out of the fairing. Not only are they ugly, you usually get them caught on something when you're wheeling it in the garage or between cars or whatever. So yeah, there you go. Well, let's do a few of the bad points. Bad point would be engine heat. I know on a few videos the people have said that they're fantastic because these bikes don't put out any engine heat. I mean, seriously, whether they're living in a really cold climate where the bike stays cold, or, you know, I don't know, they've got a different bike to mine because this thing puts out some heat. You know, I am on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, so it gets pretty hot, pretty humid here, and engine heat, yeah, you get some of it. And you know, if you're not wearing jeans, if you happen to be wearing shorts or something, riding unsafe, it does. You can feel it burning your legs. Next thing, thermos. They come on very early, and they really breathe some hot air on you too. They come on pretty early because these things like to go fast. If they're not really sitting on 150 kilometres an hour, they're nearly overheating, which is, you know, hard to ride them how they want to be ridden. The brakes fade a little bit. You know, they're pretty good for a bike of this size. They can really pull you up, but I just think they could be a little bit better. You know, obviously if you had some Brembos and, you know, something special, you could get the brakes really happening, but they work well. I just think that they could be a little bit better. They do fade a little bit. Well, restricted pipes was my next one, but these ones aren't restricted, so all good there. But the standard pipes are pretty restricted. They don't sound very good, they're not loud, and they are bloody heavy. They've got to be like 30 kilos, the two pipes together. They're really, really heavy. Next thing, they're speed limited to, well, the Speedo is speed limited to 299. It stops at 299, and sometimes, you know, you're going faster because it's still going fast, but your Speedo stopped. So not that that's a bad thing. If you're doing 299, that's probably enough for you, but you know, every now and then you want to see what it's got. Another bad, the fuel consumption. The fuel consumption's pretty hefty. I mean, if you want to ride this thing, you know, bouncing it pretty hard off gears, look, it chews, I think it's about 22 litre tank, it chews that in no time. So, you know, running it on premium, of course, yeah, it's obviously it's way cheaper than a car, but you wouldn't buy one to be economical, let's put it that way. Next thing, it's pretty hard on tyres, although this has been a pretty good tyre. These things are, yeah, they're heavy. I mean, they're really hard on tyres, so you try and really get your tyres, you know, obviously don't just get one rear one and not a front one. Get sets of tyres, and yeah, ride accordingly. But if you're going to do a track day or something like that, yeah, get ready to burn through a set of tyres. Yeah, the temp rises in traffic pretty high. I think I mentioned that. Gets up there pretty quick if you sit there idling. So yeah, you want to give it a little bit of speed after that just to get some air flowing through it. Just about it. The next thing is they're very hard to come into corners hot. I mean, you're going to get beaten by leader bikes, you know, 600s, all that sort of stuff, going around corners, because they can come in just hotter than you can, because this thing's a big girl and it's really hard to pull up and yeah, you can get yourself into trouble on it, because it'll come into a corner really hard, but it'll also want to go straight if you're not committed. So yeah, but with that being said, the outer corner speed by these things is just ridiculous. Like, you can eat up any bike coming out of a corner. You're coming out of a bend and a 600's pinned and a leader bike's sort of just getting up there, this thing will just melt them. It'll just surpass anything coming out of corners, you know, at cost of your tyres too, of course. But anyway, you ride a road bike, you get used to that sort of stuff. You don't ride them to sort of muck around on them, you ride them to have a good time. As you can see, I've got my GoPro mounts all over this thing. And there, one there, one there. I've got GoPro all over the thing. You know, I wouldn't put up any footage because I don't want to incriminate myself, because I'm a good boy and I do the speed limit. So yeah folks, that's it. That's a review of my older zx14 after putting, you know, 70,000 odd Ks on it. It's still a good bike, it still goes really hard. I haven't had to do much to it other than oil and a major service and a timing chain tensioner, which I'll be doing shortly. Yeah, that's about it. Okay folks, hope you enjoyed. Bye.